Well, hi there, and thanks for joining us on our webinar today. We're going to be looking at what you need to know about the ArcGIS Online transition to HTTPS only. I'm Mike Rogotsky. I'm the team lead in our technology adoption group at Esri Canada. With me today is Emily Rabeau, technical solution specialist, also in our technology adoption group. Emily, how's your summer going?
Pretty good so far, all things considered. Just making the most out of the hot days, warm days that we have left.
Nice. Yeah, it's been pretty hot here in Toronto, and we've been enjoying the weather here as much as we can, that's for sure. So for the webinar today, we're going to record our webinar. We will send out the recording to you after the webinar is finished. We'll also send a PDF of the slides since we have some links to some valuable information related to the topic today that you can use later. We'll also have a survey. We'd love to have your feedback about what you thought of today's webinar. Emily and I are also open to questions throughout the webinar, so use the Q&A panel and ask all panelists. We'll try and we will take a break or two during the webinar to answer questions. And we'll, at the end of the webinar as well, take questions then too. So on to the agenda. So we're going to be covering here the ArcGIS Online switch to the HTTPS only standard. This is something that has been in the plans for a little bit. And we're going to go through sort of why this change is happening, what you need to do to get prepared for it. We'll go through tools that you can use to help prepare for this transition, including the ArcGIS Security Advisor, and we'll show you how to address the different HTTP references that you'll need to look at that might be in your ArcGIS Online organization, and how you can address and move forward with those. But first, Emily and I have a poll that we would like to ask you. We would like to know, have you started preparing for the ArcGIS Online transition to HTTPS only? So you can answer that now. So ArcGIS Online is going to transition to the HTTPS only standard as of December 8th and this year. So this is going to make the ArcGIS Online security and environment, ArcGIS Online environment much more secure than even much more secure. And there's some things that you will want to do to prepare for this change. So let's take a look at those poll results as they come in. So let's see here with the results that we have about 40% have started and 60% haven't. 40 and 60 is 100. So that's great that many of you have started to prepare for this change. For those of you that haven't, though, lots of time left and lots of information that we're going to cover in today's webinar. So with that, I'll turn it over to Emily, and she'll cover our first section of content. Emily?
Thanks, Mike. So I'm happy to see that many of you are proactive in getting ready for this ArcGIS Online transition. So as we start the content of this webinar, it's important to have an understanding of the differences between HTTPS and HTTP. HTTP stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol, and it allows for the communication between a browser on your machine and a website or server, which enables you to view web pages on a computer or device. HTTPS adds secure at the end of HTTP and thus adds a level of security. This allows for the secure transmission of data both incoming and outgoing between a client such as a browser and the server. You'll notice this on most websites where the address begins with HTTPS. The problem with the regular HTTP protocol is that the information that flows from the server to browser is not encrypted, which is a security risk. HTTPS protocols remedy this by encrypting the connection between the server and the browser, thereby protecting information from being seen or stolen as it is transferred between the server and the browser. So there's additional security HTTPS brings to the ArcGIS platform that's extremely important. So let's go over a few of these benefits. It acts as a proof of authenticity and promotes user trust. This means visitors can ensure a secure visit to an ArcGIS Online website. Visitors will not receive a not secure notification in their browser that you see with HTTP-only websites. And HTTPS also protects against something called man-in-the-middle attacks, in which an impersonator intercepts unsecure communication between a client and a server, which allows them to collect and see potentially sensitive data. When it comes to integrity and confidentiality, because data gets encrypted with HTTPS, anyone monitoring the traffic won't be able to capture or tamper with the data being transferred. This also improves confidentiality because anyone monitoring the network traffic won't be able to see any sensitive information. In terms of performance, content search ranking is improved with HTTPS. So for critical applications, HTTPS is strongly recommended because it is typically faster than HTTP. It also gives you the opportunity to reduce clutter in the form of old HTTP items and content in your ArcGIS Online account that may be old and outdated and could possibly be removed. Lastly, the U.S. government approached Esri with the request to transition to HTTPS only to ensure sensitive information is secure. So the change was made in compliance with that requirement. So right now, ArcGIS Online supports HTTP and HTTPS, and Esri is making the transition to HTTPS only in a phased approach. First change is coming to ArcGIS Hub on September 8th. You'll notice that this change is you have links on your hub sites or pages that are not updated to HTTPS only. If that's the case, a browser security warning will pop up for people who try to view these links or pages on your hub site. On September 29th, geocoding service requests using the World Geocode service must communicate over HTTPS only. After September 29th, those who use HTTP communication in their World Geocoding service requests will receive an error message. The error message indicates that the protocol is not supported. And then as of December 8th, the default of HTTPS only for all ArcGIS Online organizations will be enforced. So what does this mean? Items already added to ArcGIS Online with HTTP only URLs will need to be addressed. You will no longer be able to add HTTP content to ArcGIS Online. Content from HTTP web services and scripts will stop working. And then, so these are just some things that you'll need to address before HTTPS only standard is enforced, which we'll talk a little bit more about in parts 2 and 3. There is, I just want to make a mention, there's a really important link in this page about your hub sites. So please refer back to this slide when we share it with all of you. So we're first going to take a look at something that you can do to recognize and prepare for this change. If your ArcGIS Online organization security settings hasn't transferred to HTTPS only, you may notice warnings in your ArcGIS Online account that look like the one you see on the screen at the moment. This will automatically be changed to HTTPS only on December 8, 2020, but you should make the change now if possible. It's important to remember that HTTPS only setting was enforced on all new organizations created after September 2018. So if your organization was created after September 2018, you may not see these warning messages as HTTPS only because it's already enforced. If you notice a warning, you can take the first step to enable the HTTPS only security setting for your organization. As an administrator, you can make some proactive warning messages or notifications for members of your ArcGIS Online organization that this change is coming. They can be used as a way to inform members of the change and also instruct them on what actions that they can take to address their own HTTP content. So what I'll do next is I'm going to turn things over to Mike for our first demo, and he's going to walk you through how to set your organization to HTTPS only and how to proactively inform your organization's members about this switch.
Thanks a lot, Emily. That's a great introduction. So let's take a look at some of these points in practice here. So I'm using an ArcGIS Online organization. You can see it says not secure here. This is an HTTP / organization, an older one that we have. And it's nice that Chrome is giving me a little notice even saying now this is not secure. So what can I do here as the administrator? Well, when I go into my settings, I'll see right away that message that Emily was indicating about we don't have, we need to update this to HTTPS. So I can go to that through my settings here or go right to the HTTPS settings in the security tab for my ArcGIS Online organization. So your organization has access through HTTP. Access to your ArcGIS Online organization using HTTP will be discontinued later this year. So what we can do here is switch this off, or I should say switch it on, and we'll get this change. Now we'll see right at the top here, we're getting a secure notice from Chrome, and we can see here we have HTTPS as our setting. So I've made that switch. That's the one initial switch that you should make. You can flip this back and forth on and off. So what you might want to do is set up like an ArcGIS Online HTTPS only test day where you flip this on, use your organization as you normally would. And if there were any issues, which we don't foresee there being any, you could flip this back. You have 60 days to flip that switch on and off. So one of the things Emily also said was you can, as an administrator, which I am in this organization, I can proactively give my users some information that they can use. So what I might want to do is on the home page of my organization, just put up some information about this change is coming here. So I'm using the original homepage organization settings here. So perhaps if I had anonymous access set up, I could change this to give a message to my users that when they're authenticated into the portal, I could say to learn more about how to prepare, read this tech support article. So I could also additionally put this in the link here, a hyperlink into the body, and maybe I'll get this a little bit bigger to fill out with the rest of my content here. So that's a change I could make. We'll sort of see how that plays out in a second. Other bits of information that you could do, there's lots of tools within ArcGIS Online where you can just give information to your members. So I'll go back to the security. I could give an information banner to sort of present some information to give important information about the status of the site. So if I want to set this, I can go through, give this a quick link here, maybe make this a nicer, more prominent color, save that, and then when I scroll down, we're going to see I've got this banner message here saying, oh, this change is coming, you need to be aware of this. That's good if your organization that does not allow anonymous access. Maybe you don't want to broadcast it to everyone who has public access to your site. If you're allowing anonymous access, what I think I would likely do, and I like this one the best, is set up an access notice. So that way when someone logs in, you could set up a message to say, let's go up here, HTTPS is coming, and we'll say as of December 2020, some information or contact your administrator. So what I like about this is now when I save this and I log out and log back in, I'm going to get this access information piece here that tells me what I need to do here. So that's that. When I go through next, I'm going to see that I have that information banner. I had the access and so on. So and I'm setting here in HTTPS only. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen now. I'm going to go back to the slides here, and we're going to move ahead take a couple questions that we see here. So a couple questions that came in here. One was saying, one person's asked, I don't see the HTTPS policy under policies in our security settings. What's going on here? Well, that could be in that case that you've already made that switch to the ArcGIS Online HTTPS only setting, because that's only available to be flipped on and off after 60 days. You may also not be, depending how much you're seeing, an administrator on your organization as well. So I think would be the first one, might be the second one as well. The other thing that people have asked, and there's made note of it here, it's like I have a hub organization and an ArcGIS Online organization that goes along with that. Doesn't matter what order I switch them to. And it doesn't matter the order that you change these. You can flip them basically over in either or order to HTTPS only. So we're going to turn things back over to Emily. Keep those questions coming, and we will do another demo shortly. So Emily, why don't you take us into the next section there?
Thanks, Mike. So those are some great questions. This section, what we'll do is we're going to cover HTTP areas in your organization that require intervention and how to detect them using the ArcGIS Online Security Advisor. Before we talk about the ArcGIS Security Advisor, let's talk a bit about the scenarios that require intervention. First is ArcGIS Online items only supporting access via HTTP. And these are one of the biggest items to investigate. For instance, you may have or are using older ArcGIS enterprise services that are only using HTTP and not HTTPS. If it's your server, then use the link to enable HTTPS for ArcGIS Enterprise. If it's a content provider, you should share this information with them as well. This could also come up if you're using older OGC servers that only support HTTP. Another scenario for is if ArcGIS Online items that only support access via a self-signed HTTPS certificate. If you're using a self-signed certificate for HTTPS, this needs to be changed to a trusted CA or domain certificate. There used to be a cost with trusted certificates, which is why they were used, but now they can be obtained freely. If you're interested, we've got a link in this slide that will direct you to getting some free certificate or a free certificate. Let's also consider a few other scenarios that would require intervention. You may have ArcMap or ArcGIS Pro documents like map packages that connect to ArcGIS Online layers as HTTP. ArcMap and ArcGIS Pro will try HTTPS after an HTTP request fails, but keep in mind that there's a retry time and that could vary, which could then cause delays. So if you're connecting to ArcGIS Online with ArcMap or Pro, use the help link to change your connection to HTTPS. Let's consider another scenario where you may have some older Python scripts that do some administration in ArcGIS Online. These scripts may be only using HTTP and not HTTPS. We suggest going through any scripts you have to find and replace any HTTP with HTTPS if calls are going out to ArcGIS Online. Now let's go over what you should do if changing embedded content to HTTPS does not work. First, you want to see if the underlying system can be made to support HTTPS. You can move the content to a different server that supports HTTPS and then change the link. Find new content. This could be newer and better content that's out there, or get rid of old HTTP content since it could be outdated, and this is an opportunity to clean up your content. A good point to be aware of is that if your HTTP link automatically directs to HTTPS, then you're likely going to be okay come December 8th. This is because Esri will add a content security policy header to ArcGIS Online to help direct HTTP references automatically to HTTPS. So this will reduce failures to connect this will reduce failures for content that has HTTP and HTTPS resources. Or sources, pardon me. And it's still good to be proactive. Don't rely on this. Change your HTTP references to HTTPS now if that is possible. So far, we've discussed the types of HTTP references that need to be addressed before December 8th. Keep in mind, Esri has tools that will help you detect and correct the issues. Make sure to visit the ArcGIS Trust Center. All information that Esri has about security, privacy, and compliance is available there. From there, access the ArcGIS Online Security Advisor. It consists of many application modules that will check the security of your system. The tool that we're going to be using is the HTTP check. So ArcGIS Security Advisor is a free tool that's provided to you. By logging in with your ArcGIS Online account, you can run the tool right away without entering any parameters. What it'll do is it'll scan for any content that you have access to. Administrators can run it to get to get all information about their organization items, and they can scan up to 10,000 items. To make the task more manageable, there are parameters to control what you search for, like content type and content owners. A best practice is getting each member of your organization to scan their own content and make the corrections as needed, since they're likely to be familiar with their content and they're also the custodians of it. Additionally, you can create a member report in ArcGIS Online to get a member list back so you can instruct them to scan their content. So with that, I'm going to hand things over to Mike once again, and he's going to go over using the ArcGIS Security Advisor to detect issues, and then the steps to get a list of all your ArcGIS Online members so that you can contact them about this change.
Great. Thanks a lot, Emily. So let's put some of those points into context here. So I'm in another ArcGIS Online organization this time, and it's using the new home page setup here. I put a little message at the bottom for my members to know about the change that's coming, and we can see that this is one that has had the HTTPS only switch made. If we start poking through our site here, we're going to see I have content in it like your organization probably does. I have within the organization information about what's been used. I have 5 members in the organization, and so on. So a fairly standard ArcGIS Online organization that we have here. So what I want to do is I want to interrogate this to figure out where are HTTP settings that I would like to be aware of. So as Emily mentioned, we'll go to the ArcGIS Trust Center here. So I will sign into the Trust Center. And I'll use this account. Oh, what's going on here? I think I was already signed in. Let's see what's going on here. Yeah, there we go. I was already signed in. So good. This is a good site anyways if you're interested in how the security, privacy, compliance works within ArcGIS, the whole ArcGIS suite of technology, go in there. But I'm going to launch the Security Advisor, as I mentioned, from here. So this will allow you to work with ArcGIS Online. Also, not covered today, but working with ArcGIS Enterprise. Take note of the version number. This gets updated periodically, like once a month or so. Lots of good updates happen. And as the launch to the date of December 8th to the HTTPS only switch, we may have other changes that occur there that make it easier for you to check what you're working with. So check back on this often. In the site here, now that we're in, I can go in and look at the policies, for instance. So this basically takes a look at your organization, just provides a quick view of a lot of those settings that you might have to dig through. So we can see I do have HTTPS only access set. That's great. Other tools that we won't really get into, but I like this one here, publicly shared items. So if I want to view all public items, this is a nice way I can see, like, hey, who's sharing what publicly in my organization? Do I need to worry about this stuff being made public? It's good to kind of check this every now and then just to see if those users that you have trusted to allow content to be made public are in fact doing so in accordance with what your organization wants to have done. So what Emily mentioned, we're going to use the HTTP check to take a look at our organization and see what we have going through here. So the tool analyzes the JSON content of each ArcGIS item and then takes a look at it for these HTTP references. So right away, I could scan it, and I see I get total of 88 items in my organization. This is not a huge one by any means. 10 items need to be reviewed. I can see here the owner, the type, the analysis that's been done, the title of it as well. There's a few other controls that I have here that I can work with. For instance, I might want to just find web maps. I'm interested in just working on those. So I can search by type. I say I only get 4 back. You can also search by ID. You can search by advanced search as well. Advanced search is nice because that will allow you to search based on owner. One of the things Emily mentioned, and we're a big proponent of, is getting your users to be the ones to do this check. So I am mgregotsky_UC3. There's 4 items I'm going to have to look at, and we'll come back to how we're going to remedy those a little bit later. But each user can come in, do owner : /. That'll give you their specific items. Since they're the data owners, you really want to leave it up to them to make that change of updating something, maybe with a new link, or maybe deprecating it if it's even older. So that's a nice thing to do in that case. You'll notice there's some excluded fields here. There you can have HTTP references in your item descriptions, like that have all the information about what you're using. They're okay. Those are going to link out to other pages anyways if you click on them. Those are still okay. So they've been excluded from the scan. And if I scan it here, we went from 4 to 5. So I must have in one of these items here an HTTP link in a description or an item name or something to that effect. Okay, so as I'm playing along here, I can clear these all out. I'll do a scan across the entire organization, again, to get my 10 points here. So this gives me the information in a nice, nice table here in a web browser. But maybe I want to take this and just have this whole thing on file for I could take a look at. So I could copy this out, put this into Excel, for instance, here, paste that in. And we can see here I get sort of like a longer look at all my fields here. Doesn't look so great, but I can spend a little time in Excel if I wanted to, and select all of these fields. And then I can sort of spread these out a little bit more to make this something a little more palatable. So I could use this as like a kind of a report that I have here based on, I see I'm one of the users, a couple other users here have information. I could divide this up, email it to them, for instance. That's one strategy you might want to use there. What I do like, and what Emily alluded to in the last part of the slides there, is going out and getting a report of all your users and then emailing them, basically saying, use the security advisor, be prepared for HTTP. You could throw a few links like we have here in our slides that we're going to be sharing with you later as well. So what you can do here, and this is fairly new to ArcGIS Online, I think it came out in the June release, is if you go to your status, you can go to these reports. And in the reports, you can create a report with basically on items or members. So I will create a report based on the member. So what this does is it creates a CSV file with a record for each member that you have in your organization, and it will show up in the member report section like we see here. So what's nice about this is it's a quick and easy way for you to save that there, and I'll open it up. It's a quick and easy way for you to see all the members in your organization and their email address as well. So it's a quick way you can get their emails. You could bring this into Outlook, set your body of your email up saying, be prepared for this change, run this tool, make these changes, and so on. That's what some of our users are doing. That's actually what I'm going to be doing with one of our organizations at Esri Canada in the coming weeks as I prepare this with some of my team members and how to make that change. It's something, a little handy tool that I'm going to be using. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing the screen again. I'm going to go back to the slides. Take a look at a couple of the questions here. And let's just see if I can pull one quickly here. Can switching to HTTPS break my web maps or apps by altering the links between my WFS and the apps? And the answer to that is no, the HTTPS isn't going to, switching is going to break that by altering links to your apps. Those links are going to stay the same way. If they're still HTTP, they're still going to be that if you just make that switch on the browser. But what we'd recommend you do is spend time to make that switch and then test out these apps and see how they behave. And then if they're still HTTP, because that's not going to switch those, you'll want to still address those and see how they work. And we'll see how that works in another demonstration. And another question here is, can a user run the security advisor check on their own content if they're not an administrator? And that is, yes, they can. So that's what we would recommend you do. If you're an administrator, you kind of get access to everything. If you're a user, that's just, say, a publisher type user or a creator, you would just get your own content. So there's that to consider as well. So I'm going to turn things back over to Emily, and she's going to talk us about how we can address these HTTP references in your organization. So I'll turn it back to you there, Emily.
Yeah, that's right. So far, we've seen how to detect HTTP references with the security advisor. This next section, we're going to cover how to correct them. As I mentioned earlier, the biggest concern is HTTP, ArcGIS Enterprise, and OGC servers. The security advisor finds any web map that has references to HTTP services. A good option to correct HTTP services to HTTPS is by going to the Take Me to Update Layers from the scan. To do this, you have to click Update Layers to HTTPS, which will check if there is an HTTPS equivalent and then update it. For ArcGIS Enterprise or server-only services, you can manually replace the URL with an HTTPS URL. If these tools don't help to correct the issue, then you need to go to the source and correct for HTTPS. Find another service to use or remove it. And then we've got, in terms of like web mapping applications or document links that use HTTP URLs for content, they're of less of a concern, but they'll still be picked up by the security advisor. They're less of a concern since many of the ArcGIS Online application will open the link in a different browser session. So even if it's HTTP only, it will still work. The content security policy should also address the issue to if there is a corresponding HTTPS link. These can be easily detected by viewing the item's data or template in the scan report, and then corrected in the application or the item details page. Another tool that can be used to correct these is the ArcGIS Online Assistant. This is a free tool that allows you to go to the underlying JSON code of all your maps and apps and change the URLs to HTTPS there. The security advisor also detects many HTTP references as well that don't need to be corrected. So these include new administrative reports like member report run in our second demo. The advisor isn't sure how to handle the report, so that can be ignored. Some items that have been deployed from the ArcGIS Solutions templates, like dashboards and web maps, are detected, but they will be fine. What will be picked up include hard-coded HTTP links to logos, hints, and default values. These have corresponding HTTPS links that will work and won't need to be corrected. A good rule to follow is that if there is a corresponding HTTPS link for the HTTP reference, then it will be fine. Keep in mind, the security advisor is constantly being updated, so new tools may be put in place to check HTTP references. Aside from the security improvements to ArcGIS Online, this is also a good opportunity to go ahead and clean up your old content. Many ArcGIS Online organizations that have been around for a really long time have old content that might still be publicly shared and should probably be removed or at least updated. It's your older items that are likely going to be old HTTP links. You can mark these items as deprecated or even delete them to help reduce the overhead on your organization. You can also update the content with more modern references that support HTTPS. So we've got a quote at the bottom of this slide here. This is from our Director of HR here at Esri Canada. It's from an email he shared about the process while Mike was helping him with old HTTP references in his story maps. So he used this HTTPS only change to improve the content of his World War II story maps that he has been making over the years. So for our final demos, again, I'm going to switch things over, pass things over to Mike, and he's going to be correcting each of the issues that are found when ArcGIS Security Advisor is run. So over to you, Mike.
Great. Yeah, let's get into that. I'll just say here as well, just further to what Emily was saying, yeah, a lot of the HTTP references when I started running against my different organizations were found in areas where I was linking to older websites, things that I'd done in story maps years ago. So kind of like what our HR director had found. He was finding older content. A lot of story map links that I had that were going to other places. It was a good chance for me to realize that actually this story map is sold. It's not really relevant. The ones that were relevant, I updated with some other links as well. So that was kind of nice too. Okay, so let's move into that scan again that we were doing. So I'm back into the Security Advisor, and I'm going to scan based on my owner here, and we should get back. I've got 5 items here. Okay, that's great. So why am I getting 5 items? Well, let's see. There's a web mapping application that has some HTTP references, a web map that it looks like it's referencing an older ArcGIS server, document link that's to HTTP. Now I've got 2 administrative reports. So that report that I ran to get that little check of new user or members on my organization, those get picked up because that's a fairly new point of that's something in ArcGIS Online that was developed after the Security Advisor was made. So basically, it hasn't been mapped to an editor is what it says here, which means you can ignore it. The advisor might get changed in the future to exclude those types of reports. So let's take a look, though, at the different areas that we want to look at here. We'll go through the 3 guilty parties here. What's kind of nice is you click the view the item template, and when we do that, perhaps you might want to see where the HTTP references are in here. So if I do a quick find, I can see here, oh yeah, there's that ArcGIS server that I'm using. That's the guilty, that's the culprit in this case here. So what can I do about it? Well, I could go right to the item itself for these Moncton bicycle racks, or I can go to the update layers component that Emily had instructed us about earlier. And when I do that, I have these update layers here. So update HTTPS when accessing layers. If we click this, we're going to be able to change access to layers from HTTP to HTTPS for layers that support HTTPS. So for instance, someone had asked earlier, it's like if my ArcGIS server supports HTTP to HTTPS, how is this going to work? It's like, well, I can go and click the update layers here, and it will automatically change that URL to that HTTPS URL. There's other layers here that I had that were already changed. So that's kind of nice. That's going to work for that layer. I could also, if I had perhaps a brand new server that I put the data on that was HTTPS, I could change the URLs here as well. So if this didn't work, if it was like, nope, your data is only HTTP that you're referencing here, perhaps an older service, then you'd have to look at those points like Emily said, like finding a new service, upgrading that server to HTTPS only, something along those lines like that to address that. So that's pretty good. I've got these Moncton bicycle racks fixed or addressed. If I go back to the advisor, I should hope to see 4 items now. So I have the confidence that's been fixed because the advisor has removed it. from our scan. Now, another item here that I'm going to look at is this document link. So this will go right to the item itself. And this is a link that I was providing users in my organization about contaminated sites. So we can see it was, several years ago. And I have here this HTTP link that I'm referencing here. So what's kind of nice is when I click on this, it'll still go out to an external window. So that might not be as much of a problem as I thought. But if we look at this, the reason why I say it might not be as much a problem as I thought is because this has an HTTPS link that it is automatically pointing to. So this link from the Government of Canada has already been set on their server to go to an HTTPS site. So they're already conforming with these internet best practices for security. So what I can do then is, so I can get this off the list here, is just change the URL. And because it's linking to an external site, that's good. It's neat here. I wanted to show you this because you'll see here if you start poking around ArcGIS Online, you're going to see the areas where your HTTP references are going to show up, and it's going to say, change this to HTTPS. So I'll do that, and we'll see in this case here, when I save it, it's not going to give me that message, which is good. I'm also going to scan it again, and it will remove that other point from my comment. So from my scan. So good. So this is how you can sort of churn these out. I've got one more item I need to look at here, and I'm going to go to the item data template because it looks like there's a lot going on here. So if I look at this item data template, what am I going to see here? I can quickly see the references here to some logos, old links, and a link down here which is linking to something which is HTTP. So I will go, this is a story map. It's nice, it recognizes it as a story map, so it will take me to the classic story map editor. And as I go to the story map editor, I recognize this as a older story map that I made a while ago. It was to look at the progress of schoolyard renovations and see the changes in the schoolyard. So I know some of the tells here just myself at looking at this. Like this is a really old Esri Canada logo. That's here, and I know from looking at the item data template where those changes would need to be made. So I would go into the settings here, into the header, and I'll quickly see that, yeah, okay, this is HTTP. This is an older link before our server was set to HTTPS. I've got a link to Esri Canada, an older link to our website when I set this up. So I have a new image that I want to use in place of that. That's an older Esri Canada image. It should come up. There we go. That looks great for this school. So I can put this in here and replace this as well. So I'm using this really as an opportunity to update this app. Like this is a pretty old app that I made. I don't remember the exact date of it, but I think it was 2016. And I'm still going to keep it around, but I'm going to use this as an opportunity to make sure my branding is consistent and so on. So I make that change. That looks pretty good. There's other places where I can start to needle about to find other changes here. This is actually a link here to an HTTP site as well. This is going to link externally, so it should be okay with that CSP page, that CSP header that's going to be added to ArcGIS Online. Should be okay, but good practice, rely on your own tools to make the changes there. I could just change this right here. I just want to show you quickly the ArcGIS Online Assistant. So this is a tool that will also allow you to go in and change references to your items. It's an unsupported tool, but it's free to use, and it's a fairly powerful tool that you could use as well. And I'll just give you a flavor of how you could work with it. So it gives you information about what you want to do. So I want to view an item's JSON, and I know this is called Humbercrest. So here is my web map, web app, and then I get a quick readout of what needs to be changed here. So best practice when working with this is to copy the JSON, then edit it. I could see the link here. And other links here. These were these ones that I previously changed. I could change this here as well if I wanted to. So I have that ability to go in and make these changes if I like here. Okay, so if I save that, go back to I don't even need to go back to my app because it's made the change there. I scan this again. I'm going to get to it to remove that from those changes. So I would recommend you go into the actual, in this case, the story map editor to make the change, your item templates to make the change, and so on. That ArcGIS Online Assistant, it's just something else that's available to you that you may want to explore should you feel the need to. And so that I've cleared those items out. I'm going to go back to the slides because we've got an action plan that we put together, which I think you will find very handy. And let's get through the summary first here. So essentially, we've learned about the ArcGIS Online switch to the HTTPS only standard and why this is important. We've talked about sort of the areas that you can look at using the ArcGIS Security Advisor. And we've talked about how you could address these HTTP references in your organization. So that's what we've covered. And we have this action plan set up. And these are sort of the 4 areas here we would want you to check through as you're going through this preparation. So first of all, like we did in that first demonstration, Emily explained off the top, make sure your ArcGIS Online organization enforces HTTPS today. Switch it, do a test day. If everything works, keep it as it is. That's great. If there's issues, you could switch it back. You have a 60-day period before it's forced on you on December 8th. Use that security advisor. As an administrator, if it's a smaller organization, maybe you just want to run it across the whole thing. But ideally, you get each member to run it and use this as use them as the data custodians to update their content to HTTPS, or perhaps remove older content, get rid of some of that overhead. You should encourage service providers, if you're working with services that you don't control, to allow HTTPS as an option. So if it's your own ArcGIS Enterprise server or your own servers that haven't been switched to HTTPS, then you'll want to make those changes, and we have links in the slides here that will show you how to do that. If it's another organization, you want to encourage them or share some of this information with it. So that's something worth considering there too. And if you have tools or Python scripts that are calling out to ArcGIS Online that don't use HTTPS, go through and check those to see that they do and update your scripts accordingly. So a lot of the content that we gleaned for the presentation, a lot of it came from different blog posts, different technical articles, different help documents as well. And these are some of the main ones here that we pulled that information from. So check these links out, like looking at how to enable HTTPS for ArcGIS Enterprise, replacing those HTTP references with HTTPS in ArcGIS Desktop or ArcGIS Pro. There's very concise steps in all of these documents that will help you do that. Plus, there's links to the Trust Center, the Security Advisor, and the ArcGIS Online Assistant, should you choose to look at that. So we have some more upcoming webinars. These aren't specific to HTTPS only in ArcGIS Online, but there's a few coming up related to the community maps. Also, Emily has a nice webinar coming up here about revealing your data's hidden patterns in ArcGIS Pro. So that's coming up in September. And also, more related to ArcGIS Online, we have great training courses about how to use it as an administrator, as a publisher, as well as working with ArcGIS Hub that we mentioned a couple times throughout the presentation here today. So that concludes the content of the presentation. We'll make the recording available at this link. As Emily and I have mentioned, we'll send the recording out to you as well. If you have any questions following the webinar, you can feel free to contact me as well. So at this point, we're going to stop the recording.